Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream. A big thank you to everyone who's joining me on this extremely warm evening, especially if you're in the UK. I believe it's one of the hottest days of the year. So we're going to power through the heat, and we're going to be doing some conversions today, specifically some Blood Pact conversions. Now, it's great to see everyone in the chat at the moment. As always, if you have any questions during this stream, feel free to ask them. If I don't see them, I do apologize. There are super chats if you really want to get my attention. There's also tips and things like that as well. It's all in the description. It's all on YouTube. If you use live streams, you'll be familiar. So, Blood Pact are one of the kind of cornate cultists, and they're very well known through the Sabbath Worlds Crusades, which were kind of brought about because of the Gaunt's Ghost novels. And I haven't read loads of them, but I do remember, I think I did read the first book from Gaunt's Ghost, which had the Blood Pact in him, and I actually remember reading about him and thinking he was very, very cool. And I'm surprised it's taken me this long to get around to him. So, enough waffle, let's get on with the conversion. Now, this one's probably going to be fairly quick, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing kind of two aspects. I'm going to do like a normal guardsman and then more of like an elite version. So we're going to start off with the normal guardsman. And so I've got myself a pair of legs here. Now these are typical Cadian legs, nothing particularly new about them. And you know what, that's fine, because the Blood Pact used equipment from Forge Worlds, which produced equipment for the Imperial Guard. So it made full sense that these were here. So I do apologize about the lag. I think I've changed the latency a little bit, so just see, hopefully that stays on quite good. We're still getting it pretty bad. Oh dear. Let's see if we can sort this out a little bit. Yeah, that's possibly the latency. If the lagging gets worse, what I'll do, I'll stop the stream and we'll start up again. I'll just change the latency. I tried to reduce the latency for this particular stream just so that you guys can kind of see what's going on. I can interact with you a little bit better. But maybe we need to keep that latency a little bit higher. Anyway, so I've got myself some normal legs here. Now, the torsos I was going to use was going to be, originally, I was just going to use standard Cadian torsos, shave off the chest eagle, and that normally is fine. But I thought this time I would instead use some third-party bits. Now, these are from Anvil Industries. Now, these are medieval torsos. They do a whole bunch, like a pack of 5 of these. And I actually really like using these for this kind of Chaos Cultist, because you can see here, it's a little bit harder to see on the camera maybe because of the fact that it's white, but it has this kind of very simplistic, very crude armor, which makes sense for things like basically Chaos Cultists, guys who are kind of clobbering together equipment from what they can find, from poor quality, maybe outdated equipment as well. So this is going to be the torso that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to glue that on straight away. First, I'm going to introduce you to the heads that I'm using. Now, these are another Anvil Industry head, and they have these Stahl death masks, and these kind of like Stahlhelms. You can see the German inspiration, and they have these kind of death masks. Now, some of the artwork for the Blood Pact have this kind of like grimacing face on them, and I thought I could go for that, but I quite like this appearance here. But a lot of the artwork does also feature this kind of helmet, so I thought these are a good compromise. It makes sense to kind of go for these, and they look quite chaotic too. So I've got one that I've already clipped off a little sprue here. You can see here, and these actually fit really nicely into these torsos. We don't really need to do much to them at all. We can just pretty much use them as is. So let's start assembling this. Now, these are resin, so I have already cleaned them up beforehand. I've dipped them in some warm soapy water and removed any mold release agent. So I'm just going to glue these straight on to here. Okay, so the glue should dry pretty quickly, which means we can kind of progress into the next step. So Peter Coleman, as described in the books, the Blood Pact sent crudely armoured, they're mostly in IG flak armour, as they're all... Yeah, so... Oh man, this is the only thing with this one. He doesn't have like a full base, which means it's don't get quite as good a fit there. A little bit more super glue. There we go. Just leave that into place, let that dry for a few moments. Now I'm going to glue the head on just yet, because I like to glue the head on after I've decided on the arm pose that I'm going for. So as I mentioned, the Imperial Guard equipment is used by the Blood Pact. They captured forge wheels that were producing it, and so we're going to be using some arms as well. Now these are standard, again, Cadian arms, but we can't use them as they are. They're a little bit too loyalist. We can't be using these kind of Aquilas on our equipment, so we need to remove them. So, where have my knife? There we go. Okay, so we're going to use a knife. I'm just going to very carefully start to shave this out down. Now, knives are usually pretty good for this because it gives you, it's only a very fine area, and it's very easy to slice through them if you've got a sharp enough knife. And you can see it just removes it straight away. Oh, drop that. And also gives you a little bit more control, so you can get around the hand a little bit more easily. And the trick is here just not to apply too much pressure, just to apply just enough pressure just to allow that knife to very smoothly cut through the plastic. I'm just going to smooth that down. And this is one thing you need to kind of repeat across any conversion, really. If you're doing a Chaos Cultist conversion, one of the first things you need to do is to remove them. You can just kind of like add some like strokes into them, like cuts into them, just to look like they've been scraped off, but it almost has like a slightly different dimension to them. As soon as you remove these kind of iconography, it straight away changes how the miniature looks. So we're going to be going for that now. Okay, so we've removed the iconography, so it's no longer Imperial affiliated. We have a nice generic looking glass gun there. So let's have a look at the comments. Benjamin Del Rio, I have a conversion question. Is it possible to clip off Adeptus Sororitas pauldrons? I'm not sure, actually. I think so. I don't know if it might actually be part of the shoulder, so you would have to probably replace them with something else, or maybe fill them in. It depends if you wanted to use the pauldrons for other models, or if you wanted to replace them with something else. If you wanted to replace them, then yeah, you could probably remove them quite easily. Mike Hawkins, so this is a torso from Anvil Industries. This is one of the medieval torsos. What I'll do is at the end of the stream, I'll pop the links to everything that I'm using in here. I'll be using a few different components from Anvil Industries, so I'll link everything in the description, so if you catch this video later, you'll be able to see exactly what components I've used. Now, the bayonet as well is another thing that we can kind of quite easily customize and give ourselves a slightly more chaotic appearance about. Now, one of the knives that I'm taking here is from another Khorne worshipping. These are the Blood Reavers from Age of Sigmar. You see these really nice kind of very fearsome looking blades that you can use, and you can see that we've just got this really nice dagger here, and if I just stick that onto the front of the lasgun there, not using it as a bayonet but more of kind of like a fixed, a permanently attached blade, it gives it much more of like a crueler, chaotic look. So the first thing we need to do is to remove the actual bayonet that we already have. Now if we're careful with this, this is something that can just go straight into your bits box. It's just a really nice bayonet that you can use. You can replace in the hand, you can put into like a sandbag or into the torso of an enemy model. And there we go, so we just kept that, and that can go straight into your bits box. There's no need to damage components if you can get away with it, especially if you can just pop them away. Just going to smooth this out a little bit. We don't need to smooth it out too much because obviously we need to have the attachment there. So, how did you get the thumbnail already, Peter? Time travel. It's basically just because the thumbnail is just a piece of artwork for Games Workshop released for the Sabbath. It was like it was from a Warhammer community article, I think it was. But yeah, that's why I got the thumbnail already. It's not this conversion. Sometimes I have actually contemplated building and painting the model first, and then doing the convert, and then doing it again on live stream. But that's quite a lot of extra work, really, just for the thumbnail. Nothing says Khorne more than a bigger knife and skulls. Lots of skulls. Yes, definitely. I don't actually have. You know what? I don't actually have my skull set. I'm normally really well prepared for all these streams, but I don't have the skull set handy. So I'm just going to clip that blade off. It doesn't need to have the handguard. We can just leave that off for the time being because this isn't going to be used as a traditional knife. It's just going to be used as a big blade to stick on the front of the lasgun. There we go. Clean that up a little bit. You can use a file for this as well. You don't need to use a knife. Just I always prefer to use a knife, and everyone always says, how do you not cut yourself with a knife? Every single live stream. It's almost like a guarantee. So I'm looking at this now, and it doesn't have a really fantastic contact point. I feel like it's a little bit, this little knob here is going to cause problems. We're not getting a perfect join there, so we're going to need to shave that down a little bit. Now with these kind of things you can get away with just removing bits, because again this is a chaotic cultist. They're going to make modifications to the weapons, they're going to be using altered STCs, things like that. So we can file them down. And it just helps add a slight variation to the Loyalist miniatures as well. Okay, so that's going to give us a little bit of a better bond, but this little ridge on the top of the blade here is going to cause problems. So again, that's something we need to trim down. And that's another thing that you need to kind of pay attention to when you're converting. You need to make sure that your parts fit as well as they would do if they were designed to fit, if that makes sense. Because otherwise you can end up with parts which are very easily going to be knocked, damaged. Even when you're painting, if I feel like I haven't attached something properly, then I can be painting it and I can literally knock it off just from painting. And straight away I know that I probably should have added a little bit more support. So you can see here we've got a little bit more support of adding, still not quite flush in that corner. I'm just going to cut that out a little bit more just so we get a better join. You should do a servitor conversion. The Forge Wheel models are old and really bland. Yeah, the servitors are actually something that I've been meaning to do. One of the things I was contemplating doing was kind of making a live stream series where each video will consist of me converting a member of an inquisitorial warband, and obviously servitors feature in those kind of things, so a servitor would work quite well in something like that. So yeah, maybe if I kind of go ahead with that idea. Yeah, that should be able to hold enough glue just to be good enough to sit into place. Do you have any recommendations for different autogun stand-ins without having to clean out an entire Gene Stealer Cult kit? I've really been struggling to find spare gun bits outside AdMech and Gene Stealer Cult. Yeah, so the autogun's a bit of an interesting one because it's kind of a very well-known weapon in the 40k universe, but it's very hard to get just an autogun on its own. Even the Chaos Cultist, not the Chaos Cultist, sorry, the Gene Stealer Cults, because you have the mixture of different generation of Gene Stealer Cult members, you kind of have a weird array of different weaponry available to you. One of the conversions I've actually seen, though, is actually, I've got a last gun here, so I'll show you. People will cut off this section of the last gun here. They will remove the kind of the shroud on the muzzle here, and they'll basically attach an old magazine from like a Chaos Space Marine bolter, an old Space Marine bolter, thing like that, and they'll kind of just pop it in there, and it actually looks like a pretty decent bolt gun, like an auto gun, sorry. It's not as recognizable as the stuff in the Gene Stealer Cults, but yeah, it looks like a bolt gun. It kind of looks like a bit like an AK-47 if you use a like a sickle magazine style as well. Okay, so we've got a gun which looks a little bit more chaotic than it did before. We've removed the iconography and we've added a slightly more fearsome blade to the top there. Now I've actually forgot to remove that tab, so let's just remove that quickly now. There we go. So now we've got these, we can actually glue the arms to the chest. Now these torsos are really nice because they're designed to be stand-ins for Cadian torso, so you can quite easily use, so you can see how nicely it fits against the actual legs, and the torso works really well with Cadian arms as well. So we're going to glue these straight onto here. Again, we're using some super glue for this, because if you're going super glue to plastic, or sorry, resin to plastic or resin to resin, always use super glue because regular plastic glue will not work. So get the first arm on there, trying to glue it to my fingers, and then we're going to be using a mixture of super glue on the arm here, and then we're going to use a little bit of plastic glue just at the wrist joint here. Now I do actually hope that these arms are the right pairing. I didn't check before I clicked them off. They did look the right though. Yeah, we go. Yeah, I did pick the right arms. Just press them together. So there we go. So you can actually see how the arms work really well, and we basically have something which is recognizable as a guardsman, but still has slightly subtle differences to it that make it stand out from your regular Cadians. I'll forever love you, Pete, for believing in me to leave my family behind and just watch your conversions on repeat. Yeah, just go ahead. Just watch. Who needs family, right? Just watch conversion videos endlessly. That's all I do. Yeah, that's the glue that I'm using is Plastic Magic. I think there should be a link to it in the description below, an Amazon link, so you can see exactly which one it is. I've been using, it's the only plastic glue I've used now for about 2 or 3 years. I really can't go back to kind of using other plastic glues. So we've got our helmet here. This is again, it's a style helm for anyone who's just joined. This is an Anvil Industry head, and I'm just going to pop that just on the top there. You can see how it really kind of helps to tie in with the last gun conversion and also the torso, and gives us a nice chaotic look. Now these guys are interesting because I think a few people have noticed that one of the things which has been picked up on. Now these guys are technically cultists, but they're not cultists in the same way as maybe my Alpha Legion cult. No, not my Alpha Legion, bad example. The Word Bearers or Death Guard, things like that. These guys are a little bit more organized. They're a bit more militant in their makeup. They're not necessarily Imperial Guardsmen that have changed, although I think they do consist of some Imperial Guardsmen that have kind of converted and fallen to their sway, but a lot of them are fairly well equipped because they come from Forge Worlds, which were making the equipment, and so they can get access to heavier grade, military grade equipment than maybe other cultists would do. So we have pretty much a decent start to the conversion there. We've got a very nice frame, and what we need to do now is just to add a few extra little details to it. And one of the things that I like to do is to basically take components from House Corridor kit. We've got this kind of crossbow thing. I've already removed some of the spikes for another tutorial that's coming soon. But this comes with a few spikes, and these are quite nice to just clip off and to attach. And the ropes that you have here are also quite nice for hanging off the armor and then putting a skull at the end. I might use that in a second. And what else do we have? We also have these sections as well. These are kind of like the polearm weapons, and these are really good because you have these spikes, you have these kind of meat hooks, and you can just apply them to the waist and things like that. And it just helps to add an extra detail. And that's probably why House Corridor is probably one of my favorite plastic kits for conversions. It's just so great if you're doing anything Chaos related. There's something in there for pretty much anything. I used it for 2 of the Chaos Cultist videos, and I've used some of the bits from it for other things as well. So it's actually, no, I used it for 3 Cultist conversion videos. What else do we have? We also have these sections here. Now these are from another Necromunda kit. These are from the Corpse Grinder kit. These are very cornate already. I use them as a basis for my World Eaters conversion. So yeah, we can basically trim those things off, add them to the shoulder pads, and it just adds that extra layer of chaosification. Chaosification, yes, that's a new word I've made up. I'll be using it forevermore. Hey Pete, what do you think of the Elucidian Starstriders Kill Team kit? I think they are terribly underrated and have lots of conversion possibilities. Elucidian Starstriders. Are they the ones that came in the box set, the big Kill Team box set? Yeah, I think if they're the ones I'm talking about, they're very nice models. They have a nice kind of Imperial Navy aesthetic. But the only trouble is, sometimes with those kind of models, when you've got only a few poses, you kind of are limited. Multi-part kits are usually the best ones to convert with, just because you can swap out the arms. But yeah, you can probably do some nice conversions with those. Okay, so what we're going to go for, what we're going to add on, I'm going to add these spikes here. I do quite like these. I'm going to split this down into, as I said at the beginning, 2 halves. I'm going to be doing this for half the video and another kind of different approach to Blood Pact for the second half. So we've got another 10 minutes, so let's remove these kind of little spike sections here just from this section. Just use Caradon Overlords with Orlock bits to make squats. Yeah, they are. They do actually work quite well. The Caradon Overlords are kind of chunky enough to take those bigger components. I've seen people do some pretty good Caradon Overlord conversions with not Caradon squat conversions. Although Wargames Atlantic are releasing a kind of not squats kit very soon, which will probably be used as a basis for lots of kind of squat kits as well. They always make really affordable kits as well, so definitely going to be worth checking those out when they get released. Make a Deathcore of Krieg model, but have dual wield shovels and has 2 spare holster shovels. Yeah, that's a nice idea actually. I mean, there's always it's a massive kind of meme inspired tutorial, but yeah, maybe would be good for like a next year's April Fool or something like that. So I'm just going to glue these shoulder pads here. I'm going to go for the let's go for the right shoulder pad, mainly because I feel like if it's on the left, it's just going to get in his eye line and cause him all sorts of problems. I'm going to move that a little bit further up the arm, I think, just to make it look a little bit more like a ridge on the shoulder pad as opposed to just being randomly attached. So I mean, I know everyone jokes about just adding spikes, and I've used it as a joke a few times in my videos, but genuinely, if you just add spikes to Imperial Loyalist kits, you're going to get something that looks chaotic. It's a trope, but it's easily recognizable. And there are just so many different sources for spikes and things like that. So you can see already, just by adding something like this, it really changed the profile of the model and makes it look a lot different from like Acadian. And it's just about thinking about what kits you can kind of carve up and chop up and get components from and glue them to other kits, and just to see what kind of results you get. So I'm quite happy with this so far. So what else can we add? Again, don't want to go too far with this conversion because this is going to be your rank and file, so we don't want to go too crazy because you want to be able to assemble a few of these and reproduce them. So let's just add some equipment. Let's add this, just add these pouches. I can't remember where those pouches have come from. I think they're Space Marine ones, but you know what, they work all right. I'm going to add them to there. When the Chaos Cultist looks very similar to your Imperial Guard. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's plenty of Chaos, Imperial Guard regiments out there, and also, I suppose, Space Marine chapters that look very chaotic. There's a very fine line, I think, between the two, especially like Inquisitorial warbands. Some of the things I've seen for them are just crazy. Like, people have actually straight up used Death Guard and Nurgle models and just kind of filled in all the little pustules and then just use it as like a fat topless guy who's just roaming around with some Imperial Guardsmen. So yeah, there's lots of stuff you can do. Shall I add this to it? I'd need to shave off, or shall I add something from this kit here? You know what, we don't have a skull. Let's grab a skull. Bear with me 1 second. Because everyone knows that you can't have something corn related if you don't have a skull attached. So let's glue a skull to it. So I've got my ever trusty Citadel skull set here. Now I'm just trying to decide which one I'm going to go for. Let's go for a fairly generic skull. I have lots of those, so let's use some of those for once. There we go. Just clean this up before I add it on there. Oh man, these are so fiddly, these tiny little skulls are. Just trying to get these mold lines off them sometimes. Just ping across the room. How are we doing for time? Yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing good. Okay, so as I said earlier, I'm going to use this little section of rope here just to attach the skull, and let's just decide exactly where we want to put it first. So we could possibly use this little section here as like a bracket and attach that there, and maybe have, yeah, let's go for just around about the waist. I think any higher looks a bit unusual. And then we can cut that down to length once we're happy with where we've placed it. So I'm just going to clip this off here, and then I'm going to make it longer than I need. And then I know exactly how much I need to cut off. So that's going to need to be trimmed down straight away. I can see that. Don't need a bracket that big. There we go. There we go. And that's kind of just generic enough, I think, just to attach straight to the belt there. Yeah, let's glue that on now. Give that a chance to dry, and we can see. Do you do Age of Sigmar conversions as well? You know what? I'm not sure if I've done any Age of Sigmar conversions on the channel yet. It's probably something I really need to do, because it's one of those. I think the reason why I haven't done it is because the lore changed a lot, and I haven't really caught up with it. I know enough about what the factions are, how they operate, what their kind of basic modus operandi is. But you know what? For kind of things like deeping into the lore and like seeing if there's any models which aren't well represented, apart from maybe some of the Cities of Sigmar stuff, I'm not too well versed on it. So maybe in the future, I think I need to actually sit down, read through some of the army books, and find some little gems in there that I can use as the basis for conversion. So yeah, maybe in the future, maybe. Have you seen the Tau Fire Team and Skitarii Trenchcoat mass-ups online? The Junker Tau Apocalypse. Was there one of them which had like 2 Tau, which were basically had the Skitarii Infiltrator legs, and there's 2 of them on a base, and they were like a sniper team. Is that one of them? I think if it is, then yeah, I have seen them. Okay, so I've just given that chance to dry, just because I'm going to be clipping this, so I need to make sure that I've actually got something which is stable before I actually start to try and clip anything away. So this join here straight away is going to be very, very loose. If I attach it down here, we're going to have a very kind of poor connection there. So I'm going to attach it a little bit up here. I can actually use the back of this and glue it to the body slightly. And that'll be the main join, and that'll just help to add a little bit of stability. So I'm going to make the cut about here, just so it's in line with the bottom of the tunic there. And again, once you've made this cut, oh man, I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but there we go, that's fine. These are the mistakes you see when you do stuff live. Normally, if this is a normal video, I would just kind of hide this away in the edits. You wouldn't see it and be like, oh man, he just got it glued on first time. No. Lots of mistakes get made in these kind of videos. Quite often, I'll just decide halfway through just to completely change the arm. Like, for example, a few people mentioned that they wanted to see a Chaos... whilst I wait for that to glue, let's talk about this. So this is my Chaos Space Marine Possess conversion. This is a World Eaters / Khorne Possess miniature. I wanted to make something which is a little bit more kind of up to date, a little bit more in line with the details. And I actually added a slightly different weapon here. And afterwards, I just thought, you know what, I really hate it. So I just ripped it off and glued this on. And then the trouble is, I've already filmed me gluing it on. So I'm gonna have to, if you watch that video next week, maybe the week after or so when it gets released, you'll know why I actually changed the arm halfway through. It just didn't look right. So yeah, this is one of the Wrathmongers, and I've just added some kind of Chaos Space Marine bits on there, just to kind of Space Marinify it a bit. So that's an upcoming preview that everyone gets for watching these live streams. So congratulations.